All right, the Knicks are going to look to bounce back on Wednesday night as they battle the Hawks in the ATL, this following their loss in H-Town on Monday night. So let's talk some Knicks hoops. We're going to do it with the Dean of Knicks Film School. My guy, Jonathan Macri, joins me now. J-Mac, what's going on?
How you doing, Dexter? Yeah, I can't believe we're already like 2 weeks and change into the NBA season here. It gets started pretty quick. It comes, these games are coming fast and furious, and it feels like we're already in the thick of the season.
Yeah, it feels like it. Next week we'll be talking about the NBA Cup. The Knicks will start their playing that,
Yep.
but got a couple of games before we get to that, and let's talk about the season thus far, J-Mac, because it's been a so-so start for the Bockers thus far. Where are you on this team through 6 games, and are they better than their 3-3 record?
I think their potential is certainly better than their record. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out answer, and that's because it is. If you choose to accentuate the positive and look at the things that this team has been doing well at times, you could very clearly see the vision of the front office when they put this group together, going and getting a Karl-Anthony Towns to obviously space the floor and do some other things on offense, and, solidifying that core of wings with OG Anunoby, but also Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. Like, when those guys have been at their best on defense and able to impact the game in a positive way, like we saw against the Pistons, things look great. That said, it has been very uneven. And I think the hope at this point has to be that the positives will just continue to grow in frequency as we move through the schedule.
And you got to think that, and you and I spoke about this before the season, right? We knew these first 10 games were going to be challenging for the Knicks. You said it on your Got Game. You wouldn't be shocked if they were 5-5. They're 3-3, so they're at 500. And, you hope to see more positives as we go forward, as you said. Now, you just mentioned this. Go back to Friday night, the Pistons game. We saw all the beautiful ball movement from the Knicks in that blowout victory in Detroit, but we didn't see the same against the Rockets on Monday. So in your eyes, why was the ball movement down in the last game, and how does the team ready this issue going forward of having consistent ball movement?
Yeah, I mean, I think, put the Pistons game in context. The Detroit has had some nice performances this year. They've had a couple of good wins. They were not very good, and I think they showed their youth in that game with turning the ball over and whatnot. So I'm not sure if that's the best sample size with which to judge. That said, Detroit, like Miami and like Indiana, they play a lot of drop coverage on defense, whereas certainly the Cavs, about a week ago, and then the Knicks' most recent game against Houston, those teams are more aggressive when it comes to switching and certainly challenging the Knicks to make something of those switches. And we heard Josh Hart talk about this at practice yesterday. We're hunting matchups too much. And I think that's when they fall into that trap, it slows down the offense, it stagnates. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle this moving forward, because teams are going to see this blueprint. They're going to switch a lot. And they're going to say, here, attack these switches. We're betting that is going to pay off for us in the long run, because you're not going to be able to generate those open threes, which we know Tom Thibodeau has talked about it. That's what the goal of the offense is: generate good looks from behind the arc, ideally from the corners.
Yeah, and we will see if they're able to make those adjustments moving forward. That will start tonight, Wednesday night, Knicks versus Hawks. Last game of the road trip for New York. So what are the keys to the Knickerbockers getting a win down in Atlanta and finishing off this trip with a 3-1 record?
So key number one is what I just talked about. There is a, probably the most huntable, if you want to put it this way, player in the NBA when it comes to the defense, and that's Trae Young. So, I'm sure that the Knicks are going to try to get Trae Young into disadvantageous situations, whether it's against Jalen Brunson or against really a lot of their players can put Trae Young in those types of situations. How do the Hawks respond? Do they switch, liberally? Do they double? And just all these different things that they could do. How do the Knicks handle that? Because there are different ways to go about this, and it really is just going to be about how do they want to try to generate the most efficient offense while keeping that pace that we talked about. And then on the other end of the floor, through 6 games so far, we've seen the Knicks be very comfortable dropping Karl-Anthony Towns in a deep drop. So allowing the opponent to shoot as many shots as they want, maybe not as many shots as they want, but a good amount of shots from the mid-range and even getting down to floater range. Now, Trae Young is not a perfect player by any means, but he is very, very, very comfortable taking floaters and shots from that kind of intermediate distance. So do the Knicks readily allow those shots? And if things are not going well and Trae Young is hitting them, do they adjust their defense at all?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Knicks play this one offensively and defensively as they look to improve to 3-1 in this road trip, move back above 500 with a victory in Atlanta. That'll put them at 4-3. That is Jonathan Macri, the dean of Knicks Film School. Check out his work with KFS. They do such a great job covering the Knickerbockers. J-Mac, I will see you soon. We will talk soon more about the Knicks. Thank you.